Hi, everybody. I'm Mike,
And I'm Eric.
and we're here to provide answers to frequently asked questions about using Urassys products. Today's question is, what is the time delay between my camera receiving a hardware trigger and the image being ready in host PC memory, Eric?
To answer to this question, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And I'm going to use Memento. Inside Memento, I'm going to enable the analyzer and then show the analyzer to tell you which traces I'm going to check. I'm going to check the strobe, the trigger. So the trigger will send a trigger, hardware trigger to my camera. The strobe will cover the exact time the camera will make its exposure time. Then I will take the readout. I will also check the DMA, which is a transfer from the frame grabber to the PC memory. And then I'm going to check the image header, the input line, the input buffer queue, and the output buffer queue, the one which is used by the application. Okay, this being done, to generate my images, I'm going to use GeniCam browser. Here it is. In GeniCam browser, I will set up my camera for triggering mode on 6P. I'm going to tell my device to be in RC mode and then taking trigger from line 1. And in the interface, I define that my line 1 is set up to my IOTTL11 and then tell that my IOTTL11 is an input. So every pulse sent to IOTTL11 will be sent to line 1, will be forwarded to the camera, and the camera will take an image.
So that's the trigger.
This is the trigger, yes. So right now I'm going to start my acquisition. Nothing happens, and I'm going to emulate three triggers. So script, load script, open, and this generate 3 images. I have my 3 images. So let's now in Memento analyze our traces. So I select analyze all, and here I have my 3 images. So let's zoom in to see what we have here. Okay, I'm zooming in. And here I have my trigger. So this is when the trigger is sent to the camera. Here I have my strobe, which also covers the exposure time. So during this time, the camera gathers some light, and this depends on the setting of the camera. Then during this time, the camera transfers the image to the frame grabber. And here, after this, the frame grabber provides this image to the application. So once the output pool receives one buffer, it's when the application receives this image and when the application finishes this image. So how can we measure timing? So I can go back on when I receive my trigger. So this is here. I control click on this signal, which provide me here. So here, I'm going to now right click, set reference time. And now I go here to this one. So this traces is here. And this is when I received my image, my DMA. So DMA is here. And here I can see that between the time the trigger has been sent to the camera to the fact that I have finished to receive my image and the image is available for my program, it took me exactly 4.5 milliseconds. So this is one way to measure. The other way to measure is to use the measure tools inside the graph as well. So what I can do is I can click on my trigger, I hold shift, this will create a measurement, and I can go from here to here, and I can see here that from this signal to this other, it takes about the same time, 4.5, and here is the signal. In fact, here, 4.5 milliseconds. And with the same tool, I can check that my exposure time for the camera was exactly 1 millisecond, exactly how I set it up. I can see that the readout time took here 3.4 milliseconds. And then once I have the buffer in memory, I'm going to zoom in here. So this is at the time the buffer was finished DMA and the image is available in memory. It took about 65 microseconds. And so I can estimate using this graph and these measurements how much each step of my acquisition took. So from the trigger to the camera starting to integration, then integration being finished, exposure being finished, the readout of the camera, and then the available buffer inside the PC memory. And I can even see here at the end how much time the application took to process the buffer and then to free up the buffer when this is back to 0. Does this answer to your question?
Yes, thank you, Eric. So I can see from this that while the sensor is reading out in the camera, the frame grabber is already starting and doing the DMA of the data to the host PC, correct?
Yes, and this is to not lose any time. So as soon as the readout is finished, very quickly thereafter, and we can zoom in here, and this takes, let's measure it, about 1 microsecond, the time between the camera finishing its readout and the buffer being completely available inside the PC memory. And then it takes a bit of time because here the driver takes over and then sends this message back to the user application so that the buffer can be processed by the user application.
So that's dependent on the performance of my PC.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much.
You are welcome.